The next check you need to do on your emergency lights is a monthly check. This monthly check will simulate a real power cut in the building, and you'll be checking that all the lights remain illuminated. You will be simulating a power cut by temporarily switching off the power to the lights in your building. You will then use your asset register to walk around the building to ensure that each light has remained illuminated. You will then need to make a note of any lights that have failed to remain illuminated. So before you carry out your monthly emergency lighting check, there's some key points of preparation we need to go over. Preparation point number 1 is to ensure that your asset register is on hand. The asset register should contain a list of where all your lights are located in the building and the different types. Preparation point number 2 is to understand how your lights are tested. We recommend you contact your service provider to find out what type of lights you have and how they're to be tested. The first test method in most buildings is via a distribution board or a fuse board, and we'll show you that in a second. In most modern day buildings or new builds, you'll have emergency lighting key switches, and these will be operated by a key, shown here. We recommend that you contact your service provider to find out what type of emergency lighting test keys you require. Some buildings also have addressable emergency lighting systems or self-test emergency lights. We recommend you contact your service provider to find out how these particular systems need to be tested. Okay, let's go ahead now and test the emergency lights. The first test we're going to do is using the circuit board, and then we'll do a test showing you how to do that with your emergency lighting key switches. Before carrying out your monthly emergency lighting check, it's important to understand where your fuse boards or distribution boards might be located. This is an example of a distribution board, and if I lift the lid here, you'll see all the fuses or circuit breakers. It's important to ask your electrician or service provider to mark which fuses need to be switched on or off in order to test your emergency lights. So my distribution board has already been marked, and I'm going to switch off the fuse here for the lighting. And what that's going to do is switch off the power to the lights in the corridor and move the emergency lights over to battery power. The other way to test your emergency lights is via emergency lighting key switches. In most new builds or modern day builds, they'll have emergency lighting key switches that look like this. The first step is to switch off the lights in the room using the lighting switches. Second step is using your emergency lighting test key switches. Insert the key into the switch, and depending on the installation, you switch up or switch down, and this will then activate your emergency lights. So now I've shown you how to activate your emergency lights, either via the distribution board or via a key switch. It's worthwhile noting there might be multiple distribution boards, multiple fuses, and also multiple key switches around your building. So you need an asset list to ensure that you switch all of these on or off. Once all the key switches or distribution board fuses have been activated, you now need to walk around the building with your asset list and make sure that every single emergency light in the building is illuminated. Make sure you look for any notes of the lights flickering, any of the lights that seem very dim, any lights with black ends on the lights, as this could indicate that the emergency lighting is failing. Make a note of this on your asset register. Once you've walked around the building and checked that every single emergency light is illuminated, you now need to reverse the process and make sure every emergency lighting key switch is restored back to its original position, and that the fuses or circuit breakers on your distribution boards are now switched back on. The final step is then to walk around the building to make sure that all the green lights are showing on all your emergency lights to indicate that they're now charging and on mains power. A summary of your emergency lighting monthly check should be recorded in your fire logbook, and you should document any lights that have might failed that monthly check and report that to your electrician or your service provider.